To my Coursera evaluators, this is an adult high intermediate ESL group. And also keep in mind time. Within this section of my lesson plan, there will be intervals where the class will have to go and do an activity and come back, but you will understand that as I do this. I am not taking time for that. Let us begin. Good morning, class. We have been reading about King Arthur and Tales from the Round Table. Yesterday, we talked about heroes and heroines, and you told me your heroes and your heroines. Yesterday, we also talked about the ideals of the Round Table. We talked about equality. There's no one at the head. We talked about companionship, and we talked about honor. Today, we are going to do further reading, writing, and grammar. For reading, I'm going to send you to the reading zone. You're going to go to the index of the book. And you're going to look in the back. I'm going to give you characters very shortly. You will take your character, look it up in the back, and find relevant sections on your character. Now, some of you will have more material than others. For example, the students who get Lancelot and Arthur are going to have more material. You will have to hone it down. You will have to decide what you're going to take, what you're going to use. Some of you will have less material, such as Elaine. And for that, go to the classroom computer and do further research on that. When you're finished, you will come back and I will give you other things to do. That is reading. Today for writing, you are eventually going to do a one-page write-up about your character, a character map. And we will get there through something called a cluster brainstorm and through an outline. Today we're also going to do some grammar. You've done the past tense. We're going to do the irregular past of some verbs. By the end of this class, you should have your outline. So let us start with the reading. On the table, I have place cards. And I want you, there are 9 of you, I want you each to take a place card, which you will take to the reading zone. So let's do that now. First student, you have Lancelot. You have Tristan. You have Merlin. Arthur. Next, Gawain. And Percival. You have Guinevere. You have Elaine. And finally, you have Galahad. Notice most are Knights of the Round Table, but we have 2 women and we have a magician. So go to the reading zone, do what I told you about the index, come back, and I will take you further. So they go and they come back. Now, you have this information in your mind. What are you going to do with it? You've got to get it organized some way. So we're going to organize in a couple of steps. Our first step is something called a cluster brainstorm. So on a separate piece of paper, you will do this individually. I want you to put on the piece of paper a large circle in the middle. In the large circle, you're putting your character. Then you're going to put 4 medium-sized circles around your large circle. 1 for family, 1 for education, 1 for adventures and love affairs, and 1 for death. Then, around the medium-sized family circle, you put 3 or 4 smaller circles. Brothers and sisters, father and mother for family, perhaps where you were born, which might be important. For education, you'll put what you learned, archery, jousting, music perhaps, needlework for the ladies. Adventures, this will be your larger section, adventures and love affairs. So if you're Gawain, you will do the adventure of the Green Knight. If you're Percival or Galahad, you will do the adventure of the Holy Grail. If you're Guinevere, you'll talk about Lancelot and Arthur, your lovers. death, how did you die? And if important, where are you buried? It might not be important for some. For others, such as Arthur, it's important, a place called Avalon. So you will do this in your cluster. You further have to organize. So you've got this, you've got your research, you've got your cluster. Now I want you to put it in an outline form. Lines, 1, line, line, 2, line, line. And by the end of the class, I want you to have this outline. So what do you do with this outline? You take this material and you organize it. Perhaps you can do it in several ways. You may do it chronologically. You may do it 1, family, 2, education, 3, adventures, 4, death. If you're Guinevere, you might do it in 2 sections, 1 and 2. You may do Arthur as 1 and Lancelot as 2. You will see that as you sift through the research, through the cluster, brainstorming, through the outline. And finally, you will revise and you will revise again. And when you do that, you will look at grammar. And I said, you know, we have done the past, the simple ED verbs. And we have looked at some irregular verbs. I have 5 sentences here. These are words you may use today in your research. And I want you to correct. I've used the incorrect form with the ED. They are irregular forms. You tell me what the right form is. Merlin chose to serve Arthur. Merlin chose to serve Arthur. Elaine always drawed pictures of Lancelot. Elaine always drew pictures of Lancelot. Tristan freezed as he searched for the Green Knight in the mountains. Tristan froze. Very good. Lancelot taught Galahad to become a good knight. Lancelot taught Galahad. And Arthur builded a castle called Camelot. Arthur built a castle called Camelot. Finally, I'm going to have you break up into groups of 3. There are 9 of you. 3, 3, 3. In your group of 3, you're going to talk about your character. Ask about the character of the students in your group. Be curious. You can also ask questions about how the people in your group did the cluster brainstorming or did the outline. I will go around the room to see if there are any problems, if I can help you further. Finally, for tomorrow, there will be no homework. I want you to think about your character. You will come in tomorrow with your outline and you will begin writing. I will see you tomorrow at 9. It's always a pleasure to have you in class.